it's recorded.
Okay. So some of you may be aware that the Urbana Rotary Club has received the designation officially of being a Rotary Peacebuilder Club. And so Mary Kay asked if we could connect with them and have someone talk to us about that initiative. And Barbara Jones is the chair of their Peacebuilding Committee. So we asked her to share with us today. And Barbara got her BA here at the U of I, her master's from Columbia, PhD in history from the University of Minnesota. She is a retired librarian, and interestingly, she has been in Rotary in Cedar Falls, Iowa, Middleton, Connecticut, and she's also belonged to Rotary One in Chicago. So I think I'd love to have her talk just about the experience of the different Rotary clubs. Additionally, she has worked around the world in training librarians on news literacy, how to check facts on TV, radio, social media, and the newspaper. And if you have the time, Barbara, we'd love to have you come back and talk to us about that as well. So CU Sunrise Rotarians, please join me in welcoming Barbara Jones as our speaker this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Who's got my slides? Does somebody? I sent my slides. You got them? Okay, great. So, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm really excited about this project, and I hope that your club will consider becoming a peace building club as well. Next slide. Well, the thing with Rotary is that peace building is not new, and some of you may have been in much longer than I, and you know that there are now six areas of focus in Rotary: disease prevention, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, economic and community development, and last but not least, peace and conflict prevention and resolution. Next slide. And people ask, well, what is Rotary's definition of peace? And I point out, and this is from Rotary's website, that today over 70 million people are displaced as a result of conflict, violence, violence, persecution, or human rights violations, and that half of them are children. It's even hard to say. And so Rotary believes in, by carrying out service projects and supporting peace fellowships and scholarships, our members take actions to address the underlying causes of conflict, which is what I like about this project. To look at what's causing all of this, including poverty, discrimination, ethnic tension, lack of access to education, and unequal distribution of resources. Next slide, please. Okay, what I show you here is on the Rotary website, and you're welcome to keep my slides, and there's the information from the Rotary website on how to become a Peace Builder Club. And the application form is like one page. It's not a lot of work to do. It's just a matter of starting, really, and signing up. And it would be wonderful to have more peace building clubs in the area so that we could do some things together, perhaps, or pick a neighborhood in Champaign that you would like to work within. And then we have Silverwood and Urbana, and if we could get Decatur and other clubs to do other neighborhoods, pretty soon we'd really have something interesting going on in this area. Next slide. And and I want to say another thing. We've had our club for about a year, and it took us a while to get organized and figure out what were we going to do and what did Rotary mean by this. And I mean, it was a really interesting process, because we sat around and talked about that. And then we did a couple of things. Our first project was actually to give a peace building award in the local high schools in Urbana, and then came the coronavirus. So we didn't really get off the ground with that, but hopefully we will again. So right now we are working, oh, you see the peace poles here. That was another project we did, was have local students and neighborhoods paint peace poles. There's one now in the Urbana High School courtyard, I believe. Next slide.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Too many slides.
Here's, no, I wanted the next one that says, so there we go. Okay, those of you familiar with this Urbana, it depends on who you talk to, but the mayor pretty much says this is what we're talking about. It is Colorado on the north, and then Mumford on the south, Philo Road on the east, and Cottage Grove on the west. And it used to be called Silver Water. And because over the decades, Silver Water has been associated with as a high crime neighborhood, the neighborhood decided to change its name to Silverwood, and the mayor did things like make new wooden, really pretty bus stop signs, and we're going to put a free library by one of the bus stop signs, and try to convey that the neighborhood is getting organized to do things to better their lives with the support of many organizations like ours. Next slide. So here's our goal, and it's really hard to do in the pandemic. It is really hard to get to meet people in the neighborhood, find out who's interested in working with us, et cetera, et cetera. But we do have one really good organization called Silver Hearts that is people in the neighborhood. Okay, so we want to create a sustainable project that reflects our focus on peace and justice, and so that it can go on for a while. So we're currently working on a plan for the year, and hopefully we can move from month to month. We're right now thinking maybe every other month is what will be sustainable for us. And so, as I said, we're working with the residents in a group called Silver Hearts, the Southeast Urbana Neighborhood Association, the Urbana Park District, the Urbana Free Library, and Diane Marlin, the mayor, is also really enthusiastic about projects like this. Next slide. And I bet your mayor would be too. Okay, here's some things that we might try and ideas we have tried. Our first month was August, and we did food packing and delivery to 150 homes, and that the food was from the food bank, so Rotary didn't pay for any of that. So what we did, again at the suggestion of the neighborhood, is put a back to school coupon from McDonald's for the students in each bag, so that students could go out and get a hamburger or an ice cream cone or something. And we used our Wilcox Red Shoe Fund for that, which is our fund for helping the students in the Urbana schools who need, it used to be for shoes, it's now for everything from toiletries to bathing suits or gym shorts or whatever. And that's where we got the money. We have had to expand the definition of what the Red Shoe Fund covers during the COVID, that it can cover things like coupons and things like that we wouldn't ordinarily do. So then the second month, we did food packing and delivery again to 150 homes. And this time we included packets with red, white, and blue candy, and it's how to vote by mail. We wrote up a really 1, 2, 3. Here's how you vote by mail, where the mailboxes are in Silverwood, if they want to go to Brookins in person and vote, which buses to take, and et cetera, because many of the residents don't have cars. Then in October, we decided after September, because one of the things we've learned is that our club is of an age, shall we say. And walking up all those stairs and all those apartment buildings with heavy bags of groceries was really not great. And so we were afraid we were going to lose a lot of volunteers. So one of the things we decided is to take a break in October and also to move to a system where it's a pickup, where the residents will pick up the food in a central location, like a parking lot or in Salt and Light's parking lot, or at a church. Two of the local churches help us participate. And so what's happening on October 17th, the Urbana Park District is doing, I think it's called the Halloween Shake-Up, and they are going to provide in a central location, which also makes it better for COVID, for social distancing. They are gonna go with their Urbana van. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's called Urbana, and it opens up and they're gonna distribute from the van. And it'll be PPE equipment and some candy, and it will be some of the neighborhood kids dressed as superheroes. And the superhero costumes are being designed and built by Cranard, by the Cranard Center. And so it's a really nice collaboration, and it gives us a chance to take a break. Oh, and the Southeast Urbana Neighborhood Association is buying a camera so that we can take pictures of the kids with their families. And so we're really excited about that. Next slide. Here's some other ideas. What we want to do in November is really, which is our next project, is food deliveries and focus on fresh produce. One of the things we've all noticed is that the food pantry system is wonderful, but it mostly focuses on canned food. And so we want to look in Thanksgiving on ways to deliver fresh produce, or have a fresh produce truck come or something. We're still in the process of looking about that. And we would use Salt and Light, which is the store on Philo, for people in need, and see if we can use one of their rooms for winter and spring programs, because we'd hope to go through the winter and figure something out. After COVID, we want to focus on the Urbana Park District's Crestview Park, which is in the neighborhood, and see if we could do something to enhance the garden. It's a Japanese garden because we are sister clubs with Koishikawa Club in Japan. And one of our members left a bequest. And so we thought we could get the neighbors involved and clean up the garden and do some things there in prep for picnics and parties, and hopefully get some hoops in there, because one of the things we notice is that the kids are playing basketball in the streets, and we would like to help make that not happen in the streets, and rather in a park or somewhere else. There's a program that's a national program called Coffee with a Cop. You can look it up, and the mayor is really excited if we can do this. It's where 2 or 3 neighbors might get together and have coffee in the park, let's say, with somebody from the local police, and really they get to know each other as people. And it's been very successful. I think your mayor's doing this too, but to have neighborhood conversations between the police and the residents and see how that goes. And it's been successful as far as what I've heard. Cranard would like to work with us and do music lessons, and then the Urbana Free Library rents out musical instruments, and see if we can come up with something to give music lessons. Apparently chess is a really popular thing to do among kids now. There are state tournaments for this, and so we'd like to work on that. Homework help is another thing, and that we would like to get into, because here are all of us Rotarians, and we've got all sorts of education, and we can pass it on. So next slide, please. So here are the challenges. COVID, I mentioned. And when we started, we were going to do 12 programs a year, and we're down to 6, because we think that that's more realistic. It takes a lot of organization for this. So we have monthly Zoom calls that have become weekly because just to get this organized. And then we're going to have to figure out how to organize this in relationship to other groups. Are we going to form a coalition, or what are we going to do? And when we go out with things like, okay, if we go out with name tags, what do they say? And we had some real misunderstandings about that. We want them to say Rotary, that each group that volunteers have their own name tags, things like that, that you have to worry about. How will we do fundraising? Well, each group, probably for now, each group's going to do its own fundraising. And then we need to get more people of color involved, specifically people from the neighborhood, because we're finding it really difficult during COVID. And I was just thinking, as I was lying in bed last night, gee, maybe I'll put out a table at the Halloween party and say something like, talk to me if you want to be on the advisory committee. At first, we thought we were going to give a free membership to, to the Urbana Rotary Club, a membership, and then we decided an advisory committee was a way better idea. Next slide. Okay, is that yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, that's my slides. I am happy to take questions. So.
Barbara,
Yes.
on your food packing and delivery to 150 families,
Yes.
could you talk a little bit more about the logistics of that? Do your members go to the food bank and participate in that way, get the food, then take it to families? And also, as far as people helping out with that, Urbana used to have an Interact Club. I'm not sure if they do at the present time.
Yeah.
Possibly they could be involved in helping with that, depending on the dates of the delivery, obviously.
Thank you for the questions. I'll take the second one first, and that is that the Interact Club has just recently been revived, and there are 5 members now at Urbana High School. We suspect that that will grow pretty quickly. We had 2 students helping us with the September deliveries, and they were wonderful, and they can walk up all those stairs, but we're still going to centralize it. And we think that that's going to work better. Oh, the logistics for the food. We're spending October, I've got a couple people helping me, figuring out if there's a better way to do it. Right now, here's what happens. We go to Stone Creek Church, and Stone Creek Church has the food already bagged because Stone Creek Church has volunteers to bag the food. They get their food from the food bank, and then they bag it there, and then we pick it up at Stone Creek Church, or somebody picks it up and delivers it to Quest Church on Philo Road. And then that's from Quest Church, the Rotary volunteers come and pick up the bags and deliver it to the various it's mostly apartment buildings. And we do that with sheets that the Silver Hearts group knows who's in which apartments are vacant, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how we do it. We check off how many apartments we visited and things like that. And that's how we do it. We really want to streamline this. In September, we ran into the fact that Silver Creek didn't bag enough bags because they're short of volunteers. And so they used to have bags once a week. Now they're down to twice a month. So I'm glad you asked that question, because one of the reasons we are not participating in October is to try to figure out, is there a better way to do this? It's just too much pickup, too much delivery, and anyway, we're working on it. So thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Mary,
I have a
yeah.
Ondine, go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say, Barbara, how impressive all of this work is, and really inspiring too. And also, it's nice to know that it's easy to become, a committee in your own club.
Yeah.
You handle a couple of pages. So my question is, how did you connect with all of the different people and groups? Do you have just like a really good Rolodex? I mean, how did you know who to reach out to?
This is where I finally understood, after decades of being a Rotarian, about networking within Rotary. There are just all these networks where, and things like, okay, so a woman called me and she said, my husband's in your Rotary Club and he was talking about your project. And she said, that's sort of near our neighborhood. And have you ever heard of the Southeast Urbana Neighborhood Association? And she said, we've got 100-some members and we volunteer. And then she's got a sorority from when I'm 73. She's about the same age. Said, when I was at U of I was in a sorority. We still get together and they'd love to help. I mean, it was just amazing. Then Sam Smith, who works at Cranert, is a Rotarian, and we piggybacked on what he had been doing in Silverwood. Cranert had been working in the Silverwood neighborhood for a long time, and Cranert gives their staff a certain number of hours a year that they can volunteer and they still get paid at Cranert. So they're encouraged to volunteer. So we got people from Cranert to do that. And it's just amazing. Somebody had a Salt and Light connection, and it's really fun to see who knows whom. But I bet your club has the very same thing. It's just a lot of people with a lot of different connections, and we all do service work. And so you're going to have ministers from churches in our club. We have one on Philo Road, and Pastor Bob, and it's fun how you find out all these connections. And it should have taken more time, and it didn't. But the one problem, as I said, is getting people from the neighborhood to collaborate with us. And again, I suspect this will be a lot better after COVID, when we can actually talk to people and have parties in the park. We'd like to have a big picnic in the park. So.
Yeah, Barbara, that was the question I was going to ask on why you chose the Silverwood neighborhood, but with Sam's connections, that kind of makes sense. But it always seems like an issue of making sure that if you didn't have that group helping you, it would almost be impossible to do, right? So that was kind of the key portion.
I think that is correct. It would have been really hard to do unless having some neighborhood organizations to go to just to start, and it exploded once we got out there and people knew Rotary was involved. Frankly, it opened a lot of doors because people hadn't heard of Silver Hearts, which is a very small neighborhood group, but they're really committed and they know the problems. They know about the housing situation there, and that some people are worried they're going to get evicted in January and things like that. So we can sometimes, I know SUNA, the Southeast Urbana Neighborhood Association, has worked as a bridge between some of the residents and the mayor's office. And the mayor's office is really involved too, by the way. We've got 2 people in the mayor's office who come to our monthly Zoom meetings. So it's funny. I now understand very deeply why we moved back to Urbana to retire, because this is, and why I rejoined Rotary, because it's just a lot of doors were open because people have heard of Rotary, frankly. And so that helped a lot.
It's really inspiring. Yeah. It makes you want to really go out and like, okay, what neighborhood can we start with next?
Yes, I know. It really is true. My cat helped me lose my, here we go, just a minute.
I can still see you.
Okay, good. Okay, now let me see if I can see you. Oh man, Rocky, what did you do? Oh well, I'm glad you can, there we go. And so it is inspiring to do. And it's just been amazing how easy it was to get people together, and also to prevent duplication in the neighborhood. So that if we're gonna do food deliveries, make sure either that nobody else is doing it or that we're doing it different weeks. So.
That's awesome. Does anyone else have any other questions for Barbara this morning? All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming
Thank
and
you.
sharing that with us.
Thank you very much. Please let me know if you decide to become a peace building club, because we'd love to collaborate on things. We
Great.
obviously you choose a Champaign neighborhood probably, but you know, we could still talk about, and you could avoid some of the mistakes. Things like you have to figure out how to get money to go to Sam's Club. I mean, who's got a credit card? Our Rotary doesn't have a credit card. So we had to get a church credit card from one of the ministers. And then he had to go with us to Sam's Club to use the credit card. I mean, things like that take days. So, you know, it's just, you gotta figure these things out.
Yeah. Well,
That's awesome. That's terrific. Well, thank you so much.
Sure. Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again here so we can continue on and play. And our board notes and our guest speaker. Next week's guest speaker, Andine, is going to introduce Sebastian Klein from the Angel Forever Foundation. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that right now?
Sure. I don't want to give too much away because Sebastian kind of introduces himself, but Angel Forever Foundation is a very personalized and very effective anti-suicide organization that is devoted to not only preventing suicide, but teaching people, you know, mental health messages, especially relevant during these pandemic times, that, you know, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay for us to talk about that. And it's okay for us to reach out about that and find the dialogue and ways to connect with one another and so forth. So I think you'll really like him and like hearing more about the organization, which is definitely a homegrown one right here in Champaign, Urbana.
Very cool. Awesome. We'll look forward to it.
Thank you.
And Charlie, if you could lead us in the four-way test.
The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And our 5th, is it fun?